Welcome to Prism Technologies. I am Venkat. This is part 67 of C# tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss different ways that are available to make method parameters optional. In fact, this is a very common interview question as well. There are 4 ways that can be used to make method parameters optional. We can use parameter arrays, method overloading, specifying parameter defaults, and using optional attribute that's present in system.runtime.interrupt services namespace. In this video, we'll discuss using parameter arrays. Let's say, for example, I want to implement a method that's capable of adding 2 or more numbers. For example, if the end user wants to add 15 numbers, your method should be capable of doing that. On the other hand, if I want to add just 2 numbers, still your method should be capable of doing that. Let's see how to implement such kind of a method. Let's flip to Visual Studio. Now let's make this method public, and it's going to be static as well. So public static, it's not going to return anything, so void, and let's call our method add numbers. And the first parameter is going to be of type integer, and let's call it first number. Second parameter is of type integer again, and this is going to be second number. So the first and second numbers that we want to add will be these 2 parameters. Now if I want to add more than 2 parameters, then I'm going to use a parameter array here. So how do we specify a parameter array? Using params keyword. So params, and then it's going to be of type object array, and let's call this rest of numbers. Okay, so the rest of the numbers that you want to add, you will pass them as an object array, as a parameter array. Alright, so let's declare a variable of type integer, and let's call it result, which is going to be the sum of first and second numbers. So first number plus second number. Now if the end user wants to add 3 or more numbers, more than 2 numbers, then he's going to include the rest of the numbers within this object array. Okay, so if this rest of numbers is not null, meaning they have initialized that and passed the third, fourth and fifth numbers, how many ever he wants to add. Okay, so I'm going to check if this is null. So if rest of numbers is not equal to null, then we know for sure he has more numbers to add, in which case we want to add all the integers that's present in this array into this result. So let's see how to do that. So result plus equals whatever is present in this rest of numbers. So which means I have to loop through that array there. So let's go ahead and use a for each loop there. So for each int I in rest of numbers. So what we are going to do, result plus equals I. Okay, and finally we want to display the sum to the end user, and to do that let's go ahead and use console.writeLine method. Console.writeLine sum is equal to whatever is present in this variable result. Okay, now let's say for example I want to add just 2 numbers. Since this is a static method, I can just invoke it with the name add numbers, and let's go ahead and pass 10 and 20. Now the important thing to notice here is that look at the method declaration here. It has got 3 parameters, but how many parameters are we passing? I mean, how many arguments are we passing to this method? Only 2 for the first and second number. I am not passing an argument for the third parameter. And look at this, when I go ahead and try to build the solution, let's see if this gets compiled. Look at the status bar, build succeeded. So in spite of this method having 3 formal parameters, I am only passing values for 2 of them, which means the third parameter is optional here. So how is this optional? Because I'm using this params keyword. This is a parameter array. Okay, so by using parameter array, it's one of the ways to make your method parameters optional. So now obviously if I run this, sum should be printed as 30, and that's what we see here. On the other hand, let's say for example the end user wants to add 5 numbers, 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. How does he do that? So I have 10 and 20, and the parameter array I can simply pass 30, 40 and 50 like this. So 30, 40 and 50 are the arguments for this third parameter. So if I run this now, as you might expect, we should get the sum of those 5 numbers, which is 150. Okay, so I can do it this way. Or since this is just an object array, I can create a new object array, initialize that with these three numbers and pass it as an argument. So I can do it like this as well. So new object, and we are initializing that with 30, 40 and 50. So now if I go ahead and run this, we should get the same output, which is 150. Alright. And another important thing to keep in mind is that a parameter array must be the last parameter in a formal parameter list. So if you look at this method, at the moment it has got 3 parameters, and then within these 3 parameters, this is the last parameter. It has to be. Your parameter array has to be the last parameter. Otherwise you'll get a compilation error. So let's say for example I remove this from the last position, and then if I make it the second parameter, look at what's going to happen if I try to build this. Obviously we will get a compilation error. Look at that, a parameter array must be the last parameter in a formal parameter list. Alright. Now next video we'll discuss using method overloading as an option to to make method parameters optional. On this slide you can find resources for ASP.NET, C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.